What I want to do now is I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to, start to scoot a little bit away from the drawing tools that we've been using already. And what I want to do is I want to start to introduce some of the project management tools. So basically there are two phases of using AutoCAD. One is the production side of it, so actually doing the tasks that it takes to get plans done, elevations done, any of that drafting done. The second part of it is basically project management. It's important that whenever you work with a firm, that somebody else can use your drawings, and so that's why we need to be organized about it. But also we need to know how to set up drawings. We need to know where this information comes from. So I'm introducing templates at this point. Now, what templates are is they're a file from which AutoCAD opens up a drawing. So you'll find that a lot of times firms have their custom templates. This one, for example, and with AutoCAD, when you start to work with it, it's going to open up its default template. Okay, and you'll notice that this is a new drawing, okay, that I just opened up, and my coordinates are still, decimal and not architectural. And that's because the template from which this file opened up has that as part of its settings. Okay, so what we want to do, and this is part of your homework, is that we're going to create our own templates. Okay, we might not use this, but I want you guys to know what the concept is and how to understand it, because it can save you time, and it is something that's very important to know, especially working in the professional realm. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to completely close out of this drawing file. Okay, so if you go to the upper right hand corner and you click on the close, if it doesn't close right away, just click on it again. And basically this is what AutoCAD looks like if there's no file open whatsoever. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to open up a new file, and we want to create a new file from AutoCAD in order to start to work on something. So I'm going to go up to the upper left hand corner, and right next to your big A, okay, the application menu, is the little icon for a new file, and I'm going to click on that. Okay, and what pops up is a window that says select a template. So anytime we open up AutoCAD, it always opens up using a template. And a template file is not to be confused with the DWG file, which is an AutoCAD file, which is what we're producing. The template is simply the information that feeds into that drawing so that we can start to work on it, especially with the units that we want, so on and so forth. So what the default is to use the ACAD template, okay? And this is a template that actually opens up when we first started working with AutoCAD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Open, okay? And it'll go through all of the steps that you've seen. Probably at the beginning, it's going to tell you that this template is actually and the drawing that's subsequently created is an educational version. Okay, so you can hit OK, and then it opens it up. Okay, and again, all of these settings are basically from that ACAD template. But what we want to do is we actually want to create our own. So to create a template, we start by opening this drawing file. And with the drawing file, we want to set up our file for the template. So keep in mind that we shouldn't be adding things that are not really settings. So for example, yes, I can save a drawing here, and I can work with objects and I can have lines and everything like that. And I can save it as a template. However, if I do, every time I open up a new drawing using that template, it's going to show up. Okay, so typically with different types of templates, it's very selected if there's anything in model space whatsoever. And typically there's not anything in model space. But what happens is a lot of times what people will do is they'll set up custom templates so that they don't have to change units again. And also what we're going to get into is layers, and so that the layers are already there for us. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my units, okay? And I'm going to change them from decimal to architectural and hit OK. Okay, so this is the first step that we do, or that I typically do whenever I enter a drawing. Now, what happens is, that kind of gets a little bit tedious if you have to figure that out every single time you open the drawing. So what we can actually do is we can actually change that information and then save this file as a template file so that we don't have to keep on doing that task every time we open up a new file. So to do that, I'm going to go into Save As. Okay, you don't want to save, but we can do a Save As. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the drawing as a template. Okay, the default whenever we save a file is to save it as a regular DWG file, which is an AutoCAD file. But what I want to do is I want to actually save it as a template file. So under File Name, oops, sorry, not File Name, Files of Type, sorry. I'm going to go down to DWT, okay, which is the AutoCAD drawing template. Once I click on that, you'll see that basically this changed and the location of where I'm saving it changed, because this is actually where AutoCAD stores all of its templates within the program on the computer. So what I suggest is that you save it somewhere where you can find it, just so you have it later on if you need to, especially if you're starting a new drawing. So I'm going to save mine to my desktop, and I'm going to name it 14 underscore first name underscore, I'm not doing well on that, and then underscore, I'm going to say template, just so I know that that's my template file. I don't have to put in the extension because it's already listed right below, and I'm going to say save. Okay, there's a little box that comes up that'll tell me what was saved in that template file. Okay, it's going to tell me that I changed the feet and inches, and it gives me this color dependent plot style. We'll talk about that later, and then that's fine. Okay, this is, there's nothing new here, so I'm just going to hit OK. And what happens is that right now, and this is where you have to be a little bit careful, because right now we're actually in the template file, and I know that because it says under the file name that this is actually a DWT file. So if I start to draft in this file and I save it, that's actually saving those objects in model space into my template. And that's what we talked about before, is that every time we create a new drawing with this template, if there are objects in model space, then they're going to pop up every time we start a new drawing with this template. So what I'm going to do is again close out of this because I don't want to affect my template, and I'm going to go into new file again. Okay, and then rather than selecting a template from the list here, I'm going to find the one that I just created. And now you'll notice that my units down here are changed to feet and inches, and up at the top it's actually a DWG file. So this is fine. If I draw any objects in model space now, as long as it's a DWG file, it's not going to save it to the template file, and it won't load when we start a new drawing based on that template. What I also want to show you is that when we start to work with AutoCAD, you can actually have multiple files open at the same time. You'll notice up at the top, okay, underneath the draw ribbon, that there's a system of tabs that tells us which drawings are open at the same time. I can either create a new file, okay, every single time that I want to create a new file, or what I can do is I can click on this little plus in this hidden tab that's behind the tab that's on the top. And what that does is it comes up with the dialog now to select the template. So I can either choose one of AutoCAD's templates, okay, and hit open and have that be the default, or I can use another one, or open up another one using the one that I just created. So if I go to my desktop, I can find my template, and I can open up a new file based on my template, okay. In order to switch around from drawing to drawing, either I can click on these tabs, or I can hold down Control and hit Tab in order to toggle in between the files.